What's up, guys? Welcome to the live stream for the starter kit. I'm going to be answering some pretty common questions that I get um, from starter kit people today and just kind of all around, actually. So let's jump into this and get started. And if you have any questions that you want answered, feel free to drop them for me, and I will answer them for you and go from there. So let's begin with some questions that I already have. I can't share my screen sadly because of the Facebook whatever. Because if you start sharing your screen, then it's a whole thing. So I'm not going to get into that though. So I do have a list of questions here that I get quite often, and I'm going to go ahead and answer them for everybody. So let me get that down for you guys. So probably one of the most common questions that I get is like, how do I start? Right. So how do I start, and then where do I find the phones to buy for flipping? So with that being said, guys, like you start by starting actually. Like if you go to Facebook Marketplace, you can find phones pretty much everywhere. And there's a specific thing that I use for this, and I send this specific message, and I talk about this quite a bit in the starter kit as well. So if you don't have the login, feel free to here. I'll drop it in the comments below actually. Membership phone flipping profits.com. So I dropped the login for you guys. You can request a new password and stuff. But some of the most common questions that I get are how do I start and where do I find the phones? So I like to now start people on Facebook Marketplace and offer up and stuff like that. And I like to send the message, hey, I run a company that buys used and damaged phones and electronics. If I were to pay cash today, would you be willing to take a lower offer? And I'll drop that in the comments as well for you guys so that you guys have access to just copy and paste that. But the reason I like to send that message is simply because it works. All right. Now you might have to send 100 messages to get one deal, and that's okay. All right. Like that's totally fine. Most people won't do that, and you will because that's who you are. You're a phone flipper, right? This is a business, not a side hustle. Well, some of you it might be a side hustle, but I just dropped that in the comments for you guys below. That way you guys can grab it, use it, and send it inside of Marketplace. All right. So that's probably the biggest question I get is like, how do I start? Like, what do I got to do? Right. So you grab that thing that I just put in the comments for you, and you start sending that to about 100 people over the course of a day or so. And I guarantee you're going to have people that message you back and be like, how much lower? Yeah, I'll drop it by $50. You'd be surprised how many people drop their price by $50. All right. And then that gives you actually room to negotiate. So what do you actually say to negotiate? So for negotiation, you can be like, hey, I run a business that does this, so I got to buy it for a price where I'll be able to sell it. And, there's a couple other ways you can do this. And I go over that in the starter kit curriculum too. So I recommend going through the curriculum because you'll learn a lot from it. What is the best platforms to sell phones on? Is the next question that I get a lot of. So the best platform to sell the phones on is the one where you're going to make the most profit. That's or where you can get the money back the fastest. All right. So when it comes to the best platform for speed, I recommend direct buyers. For profit, I recommend eBay typically. All right, and there's a reason why. So with direct buyers, they usually pay a little bit less than eBay, probably about 20 to sometimes even 30% less than eBay. But you get your cash back faster. You can get direct deposits in your bank account for that. And there's also the direct buyers are just faster about paying in general. Okay, so that is important. All right. Now for profit wise, I would recommend eBay because eBay you can typically sell it for higher because it's usually more of a business to consumer or sometimes even business to business. And eBay has usually a higher price point because it's being offered to more people. All right. So it depends. Like the best platform to sell on basically is dependent upon like which you want more of. Do you want more profit or do you want your money back faster? Okay. So that's my recommendation on that. The next question I have here that I got from my YouTube channel How much money do I need to start phone flipping? So I usually recommend in this program starting with like I started with $200, so I'm going to say $200, and I'm going to say $200 simply because $200 is enough to buy your first iPhone 12 or iPhone 13 and then flip that. So you can buy a lot of iPhone 12s and iPhone 13s for like 80 to $120 now and flip them both for roughly 180 to 220 in the current realm of where we are in the market. Okay, so just be aware of that. So that's how that works. That's what I would recommend is if you have $200 to start, buy the phones that are like $80 to $100 in value. Like you can get them for $80 to $100 in value, but they're worth roughly about 200. And then you can just keep flipping that money over and over again to build up your capital. Okay, that is my recommendation on that. So you don't need a ton of money to start flipping, but you do need some. Okay, another thing that I always recommend for people that have zero money is sell some stuff around the house. We live in, most of you guys live in America. I guarantee you have stuff around the house that you can get rid of. All right, like I guarantee it. And a lot of flippers actually started their business by selling the stuff that they already have. So that is something I recommend doing: is sell the stuff that you already have to get started in the business. Because if you do that, it'll give you a little bit of experience on platforms like eBay and things like that, so that you can then grow your business. All right. So let's see here. So the next question I get, there's a couple here actually. So let me choose the best one. What should I look for when inspecting a used phone? So there's a couple of things. I'm actually going to pull up my list here for you guys. I can't share it, sadly, but it is in the starter kit where you guys can log back in and see it. But let me pull up my document here, or my checklist for this, so I can go over it with you guys. Because I keep a checklist myself because I will forget stuff. And you want to build systems and processes for yourself so you don't forget stuff. So trust me, it helps a lot. iPhone buying sheet, there we go. So the things that I check, well, I'll go over the whole sheet here. So the question was, just to reiterate, what should I look for when inspecting a used phone? So I'm going to start here with, what do you need to make an offer, right? So the only things that you need to make an offer are, what phone is it and what's wrong with it, or the condition, right? There's a couple of places you can check iPhones. I recommend 6w.com, right? There's another one called imeicheck.com, and both of those work well. All right, so let me, I'm going to drop those in the comments for you guys. There we go. And, paste. There you go, guys. And then there's a checklist for iPhones. So the checklist is, you check the screen, check the back glass, the outside. You want to check for dents and damages and things like that. Touch ID or Face ID, okay? iCloud, make sure the iCloud account is turned off or removed. You want to check the cameras, make sure both cameras work, okay? You want to check the Face ID, already went over that. You want to check the sound. So you can go to sounds and haptics in the settings, and you'll be able to check the sound by letting it ring, all right? You want to check the battery health percentage. Typically, if it's less than 80%, I will lower the amount that I'm offering in person a lot of the time, all right? I don't ask for the battery health percentage through negotiation because it can scare people away. Because if somebody doesn't know something, you're putting them in a state of uncertainty, and you don't want that, okay? You want to check the LCD. The LCD is the piece under the glass. If that is broken, obviously it's worth less. The volume buttons, make sure the volume buttons work. There has been many times where I didn't check the volume buttons, or the freaking the little switch for turning it off and on mute, the mute button, where that's been broken and I didn't check it like an idiot. So I've learned that the hard way. That's why I have a list. The charging port. Make sure you bring a charger with you. Check the charging port. All right, that's important. There's been many times where I bought a phone and the charging port was broken. And that's like minimum $100 off the price that you originally had. Okay. And then make sure you reset the phone. And then I'll obviously also check the power button. So I'll drop this checklist for you guys as well in the comments so you guys have it. There we go. All right. Resetting the phone. I mean, that's pretty easy. But you just go to settings, general, erase all content and settings. It'll prompt you to remove the iCloud. You hand that back to the customer, and that's how that works. Okay, so those are the main things to check on a phone, but on an iPhone specifically when you buy them. All right, so I feel like I answered that pretty sufficiently. Let me know in the comments, though. How do I negotiate the best price for a phone? So I use what I call the bullet negotiation script, which is gone over in the starter kit in the curriculum. I recommend going through that. So the bullet negotiation script, it basically operates in a couple of ways. But the first way never changes. It's you hit them with an anchor offer or what is commonly called a lowball. The reason I call it an anchor is because it anchors that first price in the customer's brain. And then you want to gradually go up if you can by offering or by asking more questions. Okay. So for example, if I hit somebody at $100 for my first offer, I'd want my last offer to be around like 160. Okay, like that's the most I can pay. All right, so I hit them low, and then I can ask more questions like, hey, what company is it with? Or hey, how many gigabytes does it have, or how much storage does it have? Is it financed? Is it paid off? I want to ask them multiple questions. That way, I get them engaged in the conversation. And that way they're answering me, right? So, and then by asking those questions, they're actually giving me more information that I didn't have in the beginning, because all I ask for is what phone is it, what's wrong with it, and then I can a lot of the time go up on my offers based on the extra information that they give me. And then by asking those extra questions, if it doesn't have more gigabytes, or it doesn't have or it isn't unlocked, then that's actually showing to them that their phone isn't worth what they think it's worth, because your phone is financed, your phone is the base model gigabyte size, all of that stuff. It doesn't make it worth what you think it's worth, and that subconsciously tells them that. Okay, so that's the best way that I recommend negotiating with people, is start off low and then gradually go up if you can, making it seem like that they're winning the negotiation. If you let somebody feel like they're winning the negotiation, you're going to buy a lot more phones. Like, I want you guys to actually stop thinking that you're going in to win the negotiation. I'd rather the customer actually win the negotiation than I win it. All right? There's a reason for that. All right? Let's see here. The next one that I had, should I repair damaged phones before selling them? So usually this comes down to how much experience do you already have repairing phones, right? So I have a student, his name is Curtis. He repaired phones before he ever joined our Recelerator program. And so he already had the experience. Like, that was the first thing he learned before he actually learned how to flip phones. So what a lot of people will do whenever they come into this business is they will try to learn how to flip phones, and then they will also try to learn how to repair phones at the same time. Now, what happens is you're trying to learn two skill sets at the same time, and that usually doesn't work very well, because you usually get burnt out on one of them, and that's usually what I see. So usually what I recommend is, should you start repairing phones as you're buying them? If you already have the experience, then yes, you can fix and flip. Totally recommend it, okay? That's if you already have the experience. If you don't, though, which a lot of people won't have that. A lot of people will not have experience repairing phones whenever they start flipping phones. So if you don't have the experience, then I say no. But if you already have the experience, then I say yes, okay? Now, a lot of people will also ask, like, when can I start repairing phones? I usually recommend once you get to about $10,000 in profit. The reason I say that is because the man who chases two rabbits usually catches none. Okay, so if you're trying to chase two different skill sets at the same time, it usually doesn't work out too well, and that's not very fun, right? Like you're just gonna burn yourself out. I've seen it time and time again, and then people quit the business because they lose money, because they repair a phone, because they didn't know how to repair a phone, and it's a whole thing. So I don't recommend doing it. Like whenever somebody joins our Recelerator program, they sometimes ask, "Do you teach how to repair phones?" We absolutely do not teach how to repair phones. We teach you how to get 50 plus conversations going per day to buy phones and electronics. Okay. What is the average profit that I can make per phone that I'm trying to buy, or average profit? So I'm going to reframe this question a little bit. How much profit should I aim to make per item that I'm purchasing and flipping? So I usually recommend $50 to $80. Now, my personal preference is around 80 per device. All right. But if it's a reach out, then I usually recommend like try to make about $50. Like if you're just reaching out on Facebook Marketplace, then I recommend aim for $50 because you don't have any ad spend there. You don't have any stuff. All you have invested in there is time and negotiation. So that's my recommendation there. Aim, like if you're doing reach outs, aim for like $50 to $60 in profit per device that you buy from the reach out. Okay. Now, if it's from an ad, I usually aim for about $80 to $100 in profit. The reason for that is number one, I'm paying for ad spend, and number two, these people are coming to me, meaning they're probably too lazy to list their device on the marketplaces. All right, so we actually have a leg up in that way. All right. So that is my recommendation on that. Is the question that I have here is, and I reframed it a little bit. The original question was, how much profit can I make from phone flipping? Pretty generalized, but I usually recommend $50 in profit per device on a reach out, 80 to 120 on ads. All right, because typically what we see on ads is it's going to take about $10 to $25 to get somebody to actually meet up with you. That's usually what we see. All right. What are the risks involved in phone flipping? Like, can I get robbed? Yeah, you absolutely can if you do things incorrectly. All right. And this can happen it can happen anywhere. Like you can be flipping freaking T-shirts and this can happen to you. Okay. So, but you can mitigate risks a lot. I've been robbed before. All right. So I don't want anybody else to go through that. None of my students have been robbed because they listen to what I have to say on the matter, because it's actually happened to me. So my recommendation on this is like, how do you avoid risks and things like that? Number one, just run the IMEIs, and meet inside a local public location. All right. If you meet in a public location inside, the likelihood of something actually happening to you is incredibly low. Right. So that's my recommendation there, is keep yourself safe by meeting inside. You can also meet at police stations. You can meet at just meet anywhere where there's like cameras and it's like a public place, right? Let's see here. How can I scale my phone flipping business? So you scale your phone flipping business by buying more phones and devices. So I actually just got off a call with my students, and I was going over with them a question that I get from people a lot. And that question a lot of the time is, how do I double the amount that I'm making in my business right now? And it's actually a pretty simple answer. And I always ask these people, whenever they ask me this question, it's like, all right, how many devices are you buying per customer right now? And their answer is always, well, I'm just buying one. And I was like, well, why don't you try buying 2 devices per customer? That's how you double your business. Imagine if you're buying 40 devices a month and you magically go to 80 by asking what else they have to sell. Now, it might not be a phone. It might be a game console. It might be a MacBook. It might be a smartwatch, right? But like a lot of times those items have more profit in them than the phone does. People value phones more than they value the accessories or the other things like a good like the thing that people value the most is what they use the most, right? People use their phones every single day. They don't use their iPads every day most of the time. Sometimes they'll use their smartwatches every day, but also they won't use their MacBooks every day, right? So these are some of the things that you can start buying outside of iPhones. And then I also recommend buying Samsungs too. Samsungs are great. I honestly make more off of Samsungs than I do off of iPhones. So, and then our direct buying company buys Samsungs too because there's more profit in them a lot of times than iPhones, right? So, um, that's how you scale your phone flipping business. You just buy more stuff per customer, or you increase the amount of customers that you get, right? The whole thing is a numbers game. A lot of people don't realize that. They think there's some sort of hack to the game when the hack is simply just do more and buy more stuff, and then you make more money magically, right? So, and that can be as simple as like if you just want more customers and you just want to keep buying iPhones, well, then you have basically delineated that you just need to market more. You just need more people to see you. You need more eyeballs on your business, right? And that's how that works. So you can scale your business in that way, or you can just do it by buying more items per customer. All right. I have one student who his average uh, his average device per customer was 2.5, meaning he was buying 2.5 devices per customer, which was fantastic. It's amazing, actually. So um, buy more stuff, and that's how you can scale your business quickly. Um, what are some tools and software that can help grow a phone flipping business? So there's a couple out there, guys. We have, in my opinion, the best ones. My opinion, I have Resell Deck and Resell Hawk. Um, Resell Hawk actually automates the reach out game, which is inside of our Recelerator program. Same thing with Resell Deck, that's inside of our Recelerator program now. Both of them do wildly different things, but Resale Hawk basically automates Marketplace by sending messages. And there's a couple other out there too. Marketplace Monitor. Marketplace Monitor is great. I like those guys a lot. And basically what they do is they help you set preset filter. I actually got a notification just now from them. But they help you get preset filters for whenever certain items pop up on the marketplace. So they're a great one. If you guys need the link to them, I can drop it. Feel free to ask for it in the comment. Actually, it should be, if you're on YouTube, it should show up in the description. You can get 30% off the first month or something like that with them. And then we got Resell Hawk and Resell Deck. Like I said earlier, those are, I built those for the most part, and they work. So, how do I avoid scams when buying or selling phones? So, best way to avoid scams is to number one, meet in a public location and don't go somewhere. Nowadays I actually recommend digital payments too, like Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, stuff like that. If I can get somebody to do that and I can avoid cash, I'll do that. Whenever I meet up with them, I'll just do a digital payment. That's one way to avoid some scams now. And then a good way is a bill of sale. Like if you bring up the bill of sale before you ever meet with somebody, this is a very good way to knock out the scammers that could be trying to sell to you. A while back, I accidentally bought a fake Samsung phone. It was so good that I couldn't tell the difference. Actually, it was that good, and I've been doing this for a long time. But I bought a fake Samsung phone. Luckily, I had the guy sign a bill of sale, and I was like, hey. I found out it was a fake afterwards, and then luckily I had his phone number, I had his email, I had his driver's license, I had everything in the bill of sale, right? And I was like, hey man, either you give my money back or I'm gonna report you to the police. And he was like, I guess he had not known that it was a fake phone. I don't know the truth there, but I did that, and he immediately gave my money back digitally. So he paid me back over Zelle. So. Now on eBay and places like that, you can avoid scams by having a bulletproof description. Now we have this description for you guys inside of the starter kit program. That is there for you, okay? Another way you can avoid scams is selling directly to direct buyers. All right. Yes, you'll be taking a little bit less in terms of like profit, but honestly, that comes down to what you bought it at. But if you sell to direct buyers, you won't get scammed. I mean, I have some direct buyers in the program for you guys that you guys can look at that are legit. They're good people, and I recommend using them. So yeah. Let me see here. Let me find another good question. How to handle returns or disputes when selling online. So how do I handle returns or things like that whenever I'm selling online? So my recommendation here is if you're handling like with eBay, so just by getting on eBay, you're going like, and if you had planned to scale your business at all, you're gonna be handling returns. Okay, that's gonna be a thing, and this goes back to having a bulletproof description, right? If your description is top notch, and you were explicit on like what your device does and what's wrong with it and the condition and everything, you won't have a whole lot of issues. Okay. However, if you don't do that and you're not upfront and you're not explicit with what's wrong with it and all of that, you will get a lot of returns. All right. So handling returns is honestly just going to be a part of the business. Okay. Last time I got scammed on eBay was like 2 years ago. All right. And that's because it was actually my fault and the scammer took advantage of it. All right. So, number one, I recommend using the description that I have for you guys in the starter kit. All right. But handling returns, so the great thing about eBay is you don't have to refund anybody until you get the item back, which is great. So you can get the item back, and what I recommend doing here is record yourself opening the package when you get it back. Okay, if you record yourself opening the package when you get it back, the likelihood that you lose the case is low. All right, so that's how I deal with returns. Is I'll just record myself reopening the package and making sure the contents that are what I sent to the person. Okay, and then also don't be rude to the customer. That's a big thing. Like if somebody wants to return, eBay's probably going to make it happen anyway. I don't actually recommend putting no returns on eBay. The reason I say that is because eBay will actually promote your listing higher. All right. Another thing you can also do to kind of vet buyers is you can look at their feedback. Definitely recommend doing that. Look at the feedback that somebody has. All right. And then another thing I like to do now is when somebody purchases an item, I like to message them beforehand and be like, hey, just wanted to confirm that you actually read the description of this item. Guys, that right there has saved me heartache and pain and suffering so many times at this point. So imagine somebody buys your item on eBay, right? They buy your item on eBay, and you send a message right after that, or a couple hours later, be like, hey, it's just before we ship it, basically. And you're just like, hey, just wanted to confirm that you read the description on this item, because I just want to make sure that you read the description, you know what you're getting, all of that, right? Guys, sometimes people don't read the description. I just want to confirm that they read the description, all right? So I think that's about the last of the questions that I had. If you guys have any more, feel free to drop them in the comments, but that's about it for this meeting today. And hope you guys enjoy, and feel free to drop your other questions below. I hope I answered a bunch of them for you guys, and you guys have a fantastic Thursday. Later. Bye.